Alright, so this is a video that I felt like I had to do. I really felt like I had to do a video about Florida State football in the 90s and remembering Bobby Bowden. Now, out of all the sports like baseball, the NBA, the NFL, college football was my favorite sport to watch and be a part of as a viewer. Out of all the sports, my favorite team is the Florida Gators, and I was a huge Florida Gators fan. So I'm going to do this video from the standpoint of a Florida Gators fan. Of a huge Florida Gators fan, and talk about how the Florida State football program really annoyed me throughout the 90s. But I'm also going to talk about, more towards the second half of the video, talk about Bobby Bowden and kind of how I saw him in a different light. And, this is sports. I mean, sports hatred is different from hatred in reality. It's just kind of like, I knew sports is fun. I took it as fun. And obviously, just being a sports fan, when you have someone like the Florida State Seminoles, so I couldn't stand the 90s, it was fun, and I just want to make sure I point that out. But anyways, so I'm going to first of all go ahead and take a look at the record of Bobby Bowden from 1985 to 1990. Obviously tremendous, and look at all those wins he had in bowl games. But where I'm really going to start here, I'm going to start with the 1991 season. Now, for the 91 season, Florida State, they were the preseason #1 team. So could they be the kings of the state of Florida? Because at this time, it was Miami football. Miami was so dominant in the 80s. Could Florida State take that reign over from the Miami Hurricanes? But for this season, the 1991 season, Florida State, they went ahead. They cruised through their schedule. And for a late matchup against the Miami Hurricanes, #1 Florida State, #2 Miami. It was a great game. It was very intense in the beginning. I just loved the atmosphere. I love this game. This game was played at Florida State. And what happened is, Florida State, they had a chance to win at the end, but they had a missed field goal. And interestingly, prior to the season, the NCAA, they shortened the width of the field goals by 4 feet and 10 inches. So this field goal just barely missed. And if they had if they went back, if they didn't have that where they shortened the shortened the width of the goalposts, that field goal would have gone in. But anyways, Florida State, they lost. Like I said, it's all about being a Florida Gators fan, and also, with me being a Florida Gators fan, basically the reason I was a Florida Gators fan is because it was all about like Florida State, Miami, and the state of Florida. And also, a lot of kids at my school, they also either wore Florida State or Miami apparel, and I just wanted to be different. So I decided to go Florida, who was kind of like the third team in the state of Florida. But anyways, also, after that game that Florida State lost to Miami, they then lost to Florida. And honestly, I don't remember this game at all for some reason. I don't remember it. But anyways, Florida State, for 91 season, they went ahead. They went to the Cotton Bowl. They played Texas A&M. They won 10-2. Here we go, the 1992 season. Now, this would be the first season where Florida State would play in the ACC. And the ACC wasn't really one of the top football conferences. I'm going to get more into that later on. But anyways, 1992 season, a late September game. It was Miami, Florida State. The poll basically was Washington 1, Miami's 2, and Florida State 3. This game was played at Miami. Florida State, they had a chance to win again at the end of the game, but missed the field goal. Again, wide right. This was wide right 2. Florida State, they had a chance to tie, by the way. And this was before they had overtime games, so that game would have been a 1919 tie. And basically with Florida State, possibly because they tied Miami at Miami, that may have put Florida State ahead of Miami in the polls. And if those two teams had tied at one, or Florida State would have gotten ahead of those polls, and they would have played Alabama, in that Sugar Bowl, 1992. But anyways, Florida State, they went ahead. They played Nebraska in the Orange Bowl. They went ahead and defeated Nebraska 27-13. By the way, Charlie Ward was a quarterback at this time. So anyways, for the 1993 season, now Florida State, preseason #1. Could this be the year that Florida State wins the national championship? And also for the 93 season, I want to talk about this. This made huge headlines. It was huge that Florida State signed a kicker. Now, after those 2 wide right losses to Miami, Florida State, they went after and got the best kicker, Scott Bentley. And this was a big story at the time, a very big story. So Scott Bentley, he was part of the Florida State. Could he be the kicker to give Florida State that first national championship for Bobby Bowden? We'll see. So 1993 season, Florida State, they cruised through the ACC schedule. They cruised through it. Miami, they kind of had a down year this year. Kind of lost a lot of their offensive weapons from previous year, but still had a very good defense. Florida State defeated Miami this year. But late in the season, Florida State was going to play Notre Dame at Notre Dame. #1 versus #2. Label is the game of the century. But anyways, basically what happened, Florida State lost by 7 points. They had a chance to win, but Notre Dame defender knocked the ball on the final pass attempt near the end zone, so Notre Dame won by 7. But Notre Dame, they lost the next week, surprisingly, to Boston College. this gave way for Florida State to possibly be able to win that national championship. Now, Nebraska was undefeated. West Virginia was also undefeated, but not many people talk about West Virginia winning that title. But anyways, also I want to say Florida State, they defeated Florida in 92 and 93. They defeated them by more than 10 points. I wasn't too happy about that, obviously. But anyways, Florida State, for the 93 season, they were going up against Nebraska. The Florida State kicker, Scott Bentley, he did make a field goal late in the game. Nebraska, they had a chance to win late in the game, but they missed a field goal that went wide left. So Florida State, they won 18-16. So here we go, the 1994 season. And Charlie Ward would be gone. Danny Cannell would be the new quarterback. And Florida State, they went ahead. They lost to Miami. And then late in the season, after seeing kind of Florida State did to Florida the previous 2 seasons, I was hoping Florida could win this game against Florida State. But here's what happened. Florida, they got out to a 31-3 lead. And I was so excited. This was like one moment where I was just so excited that, yes, Florida, they're up 31-3 in the 4th quarter. But what happened? Florida State, they came back. Got 28 points in the 4th quarter. It was a tie game. They finished up as a tie, 31-31. Bobby Bowden, he said he did not want to go for 2 points because the comeback was so great. And this was just one of the most annoying moments of one of the most annoying moments. I just couldn't stand it. I was so angry that day. That really ruined my day. But anyways, it tied. What happened was Florida made it to the Sugar Bowl, and they were going to be matched up against Florida State. And before the game, like, there was this, like, I guess the scoreboard, it had like the 5th quarter, 5 for the 5th quarter. It kind of had the score at 31-31, as this was going to be the rematch to see who won. And Florida State won this game. Defensively, they were very good. They won 23-17. Florida had a tough time on offense. I remember, I haven't gone back to this game, but what I remember, there was like a blown coverage, and Florida had some trick plays that they used to get some yards. But Florida State defense played really good. Florida State won that game 23-17. So 1995 season, Florida State, they were the preseason number 1 team. And for the 93-94 season, let me just say this. Florida State, they just ran through the ACC. They just demolished the ACC. And it was just a huge gap between the top team of the ACC and then whoever was second. I thought Virginia was the second best team in the ACC at the time. Florida State, first half, they went through their schedule. And they went to play Virginia in Virginia. I didn't get a chance to see this game. Now, I didn't grow up with cable. I either had friends like VHS it for me or, VHS the highlights. But anyways, it happened. Florida State down 33-28. And Florida State, they were like the 5 or 6 yard line of Virginia. What happened was a direct snap to Work done, tried to get in, but he's just inches short of the end zone. This was the last play of the game. Virginia, they held down. They won 33-28, and I was excited. I was happy. Wow, Florida State lost. I'm happy about that. So Florida State lost in 95. And then the Gators, they won 35-24 against Florida State. I was happy before that. Florida was undefeated that season. They went to play Nebraska in the Fiesta Bowl. Now, thing about 1995 season, both in the ACC, both Virginia and Florida State, they had 1 loss in the conference. But Virginia, they had some weird losses that year to Michigan, Texas, also late to Virginia Tech. I forgot who their conference loss was to. But anyways, they each had 1 loss. Now, this was the first year of like the bowl alliance. And previous years, like bowl committees, they would select teams who I thought were the best fit. Not necessarily, there was some like the Big 8 had a tie into the Orange Bowl. The winner of the Big 8 would go into the Orange Bowl. Big 10, Pac-10, obviously the Rose Bowl. And the winner of the SEC would go Sugar Bowl. But it wasn't really like that because the bowl coalition was made up of 3 bowls. The Rose Bowl is not part of it because the Pac-10, Big 10 wanted to keep their bowl ties. But it was a Sugar Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, and the Orange Bowl. And they decided they want to take Florida State over Virginia. The bowl coalition decided to take Florida State into the Orange Bowl, in which they did, and they defeated Notre Dame. 1996 season, Florida State, they ran through their schedule. Florida ran through the schedule in season number 1 versus number 2. Number 1, Florida versus number 2, Florida State. And I had some going on. I couldn't watch this game. I wasn't too happy about that. But basically, Florida State won 24-21. They beat the heck out of Danny Werfel. Steve Spurrier kind of accused the Seminoles of like cheap shots and hitting Werfel late. They asked Bobby Bowden about it. Bowden's like, hey, we just play until we hear the echoes of the whistle. Now, at that time, that annoyed me. I'm going to get more into Bobby Bowden's personality later, but that annoyed me about that statement, what Bobby Bowden said. And I'm going to get more to how Florida State annoyed me. But anyways, Florida lost. Florida State, there wasn't the ACC Conference Championship at the time, so they were destined to play. At that time, the Sugar Bowl had the opportunity to get the two top teams in college football. It looked like it was going to be Florida State and Nebraska, but Nebraska got upset by Texas, surprisingly. So that allowed Florida to kind of creep in there. So in the Rose Bowl year, it was going to be Arizona State, who was undefeated, and Ohio State, who had a late loss to Michigan, play for in the Rose Bowl. So Florida still had a chance to the national championship. And basically, everything kind of worked out. Like, Ohio State beat Arizona State in a close game, but Florida State, they demolished Florida State 52-20. In the Sugar Bowl, allowed Florida to get the national championship. But sorry, I know this is about Florida State. Sorry about that. So, 1997 season. I talked about how the ACC was really weak. But, you know, for 1997, there were two teams who I thought, okay, that gap is maybe, you know, getting closer because Georgia Tech, I thought, a really good team. George O'Leary, I thought, was a very good offensive coach. He had a quarterback that I really liked in Joe Hamilton. Didn't quite work out. Florida State demolished. I think I forgot to score. I'm sorry, but I think Florida State, they blew out. In fact, I know Florida State, they blew out Georgia Tech. But the second team was North Carolina. Now, North Carolina's defense in 1997 was really good. They wound up being at one point in the top 5. Late in the season, Florida State, North Carolina, they had this match. I'm like, okay, I think if North Carolina can win this game is getting played at North Carolina. But Florida State, they won 23. Florida State's defense was awesome at game. So Florida State undefeated, going against Florida. And I just wasn't too confident, because I don't mean to sound like a spoiled Florida Gators fan, but I just wasn't confident in this Gators team. They lost at LSU, which can be a tough place on a Saturday night. And then they also lost by 20 to Georgia, which it wasn't like the Georgia under Mark Richt or right now under Kirby Smart. Anyways, I wasn't too confident. So in this game, Steve Spurrier had this thing where he was going to have the quarterbacks would rotate after each play. I'm like, what are you doing? Now, Steve Spurrier obviously knows a lot more about football than me, but Florida won 32-29, what is perhaps the greatest game ever played at the Swamp. Florida State was up 29-25. Florida had the ball late. I thought it was going to be tough going against a Florida State defense, but Doug Johnson hit Jaquez Green for a 60-yard reception, and Fred Taylor ran it in. They won 32-29, and Florida also got a late interception to officially seal it, and I was surprised by that. And that ruined Florida State's title hopes. Bobby Bowden, he later said that that was his toughest loss to Florida, not the 96 one after the 96 season Sugar Bowl. This one kind of ruined his title hopes, but better days would be ahead for Florida State, absolutely. 1998 season. Now, this was interesting. The starting quarterback was Dan Kendra. Now, Dan Kendra, he was the most highly touted quarterback coming out of high school in the 90s. Him and Tim Couch. And he took Florida State over Penn State, but he got injured. He had a knee injury. The second quarterback, Chris Winkie, would come in, but he got injured later on in the season. First, also, I want to talk about Florida State. They had their second ACC loss to North Carolina State. This really stunned me. 24-7. Torrey Holt, he went off. This really stunned me. So Florida State had a loss. That was kind of surprising. Chris Winkie hurt his neck against Virginia. And so they were playing with the third string quarterback. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, before that 97 game between Florida State and Florida, there was, before the game, Florida State, they were stomping on the Florida's logo. I hated it. That was the first time I ever saw it, but I really hated that. Me being a silly Gators fan, I blame Bowden for that. I couldn't, but it probably unfairly, to blame Bowden. But anyways, so before the 98 finale between the Gators and the Seminoles, I'm more optimistic, even though they weren't really playing great this season. I was more optimistic just because Florida State had third string quarterback, but Florida State's defense, they were great. But before that game, Florida kind of did try to do the same thing, stomp the logo, but like the two teams met. And what annoyed me is that I guess two walk-ons egged on a Gators starting safety, Tony George, egged him on, and Tony George threw some punches and got ejected. That annoyed the heck out of me, that the starting safety was out before the game. And Florida State, they won the game. Florida State's defense was really good for 98 season. Now, at the end of the season, 1998, I love the Kansas State 1998 team. I love that team a lot. And they were undefeated, so it was UCLA and Tennessee, but there was only two spots really. This was the first year that Big Ten and Pac-10 were going to be part. You know, this is enough for the ties that they were going to be able to match up the two teams no matter what conference. But anyways, first UCLA lost. I'm like, okay, all right, Kansas State, man, they just have to win. They'll be in the championship game. Kansas State lost. And that left the door open for Florida State to come in. Now, Tennessee, they had to scare Mississippi State, but Tennessee won. So it annoyed me because Out of all the one-loss teams, Florida State was the team that was chosen to play Tennessee for the national championship. Tennessee, they won by a touchdown. They were national championships. That was not with Peyton Manning, by the way. The 1999 season, Chris Winkie, they just blew by everyone. Florida State was so good in 1999. And Peter Warrick, oh my gosh. He was magnificent. That 99 Florida State team, they went through the conference undefeated. Against Florida, Peter Warrick had some runs. He had an incredible punt return. It wasn't for a touchdown. I quickly tried to find it, couldn't find it, but I remember him dodging like 9 Gators. But anyways, they went ahead. They defeated Virginia Tech, won their second national championship under Bobby Bowden. So good for Florida State. All right, now on to the 2000 season. Wide right 3 happened where Miami won against Florida State. They won 27-24. And I wasn't mentioning Miami prior because Florida State was defeating them, but Miami, they were on the rise, like under Butch Davis. But basically, let me see. It got down to the end of the season. 3 teams with 1 loss. The undefeated team was Oklahoma. The 3 teams with 1 loss: Florida State, Miami, and Washington. And Florida State was chosen to go ahead and play Oklahoma for national championship. This kind of caused for some changes to BCS. Miami thought they should have been in. Washington had a claim also because they defeated Miami during that season also, but Florida State, they went in one of the most surprising games ever. I couldn't believe it. I thought Florida State was going to win, but they lost to Oklahoma 13-2, which a tremendous defensive performance by Oklahoma, so that kind of surprised me. And then really, this is kind of like the decline. I'm just going to kind of go through this quickly. 2001, I'll just say this. I'm not getting more into the Florida Gator stuff, but I'm just going to quickly wind down here. But basically, I was surprised that Maryland, of all teams, they finally won the ACC from Florida State. From 92 to 2000, Florida State just dominated the ACC. But if you take a look here, the non-conference record wasn't really that good. They weren't winning non-conference, but they were winning ACC titles. And then I'm just going to quickly show. And this is all obviously very difficult for when you have a team that did so much for a program when it's time, where that decision, where does he go? Does he stay? Like, is he hurting if he stays? I understand it's a difficult situation, but, obviously Bobby Bowden did a great job building that program. So, let me talk about Bobby Bowden. Listen, I was a silly Gators fan. I know sports is fun, but a lot of those games I took seriously and just had such a rooting interest. My fandom with sports kind of declined starting in the 2000s. I'm gonna hopefully do a video about that, how ESPN ruined it. But basically, I think this was the 2002 Hurricanes game, Florida State Seminoles game. This was wide left 1, which is called. And what was unique about Bobby Bowden, I don't know why this came to me, why this always stuck with me. And I know I'm saying that, but I think it was this game. But Bobby Bowden, after the game, like usually coaches after important games of top programs, they don't really talk to the media or to the on-field reporter. In this case, was CBS. And Bobby Bowden, he was just like, joyful is a bad word, but he seemed in a good mood, even though I know he probably wasn't, but just the way how he's talking. But he was, the best way I can say, it was Bobby Bowden just saying, yeah, both teams played hard, give him a lot of credit. He was happy to talk, and in the 2000s, I started realizing that was who Bobby Bowden is. And in a sport, college football, with just so many it's just so cutthroat. It's a lot of people with a lot of perhaps slime balls and people who are not very nice. And I'm not saying you have to be nice, because I understand to get to that level, there's got to be a huge amount of intensity in you. Also a huge amount of competitiveness in you. But it was just so interesting, seeing Bobby Bowden just being so nice, being so grateful to talk. And this was Bobby Bowden. I started realizing in the 2000s, I started really just enjoying Bobby Bowden speak. And obviously there's some, I know people have some really great things to talk about Bobby Bowden. And he just seemed he's just that really thick Southern drawl, really, he just seems so friendly and kind. And obviously I don't know, because you really don't know about people. I never really talk about people's character because I really don't know, but he just seemed that way. And I'll just say this, if there is one college football coach ever would be perfectly Santa Claus, I think it'd be Bobby Bowden, just because he seems like someone just very enjoyable to be with. I mean, you have Steve Spurrier, he'd be bad because he'd throw that Santa's beard his visor. Butch Davis would probably want to attack, get angry, attack the L's, be so intense. Nick Saban want to be teaching L's how to do ball hawking defense. from a cornerback position. Tom Osborne was just a stone-faced, scared of the kids. Who else do we have? Like, the parents would be scared of Pete Carroll, asking Pete Carroll that probably needs to be on decaf, or switch to decaf. Lloyd Carr with one of his angry faces, scaring the kids. But I'm not saying that all coaches have to be there, because like I said, to get to that level, like, there's a huge part of competitiveness and intensity and focus. But I just really enjoyed listening to Bobby Bowden. He really seemed like a genuine guy. And basically, that's it about Florida State Seminoles and Bobby Bowden. I just want to say, like I said, I love college football so much in the 90s, and Bobby Bowden was such a big part of that. And one thing I'll ask, say, college football coaches, they have this thing where you can be elevated to like cold access. I don't know. Just from how I see it, it didn't seem like Tallahassee did that to Florida State, but maybe I'm wrong. But of course, Bobby Bowden, there was some scandals at Florida State with like the Free Shoes University, some arrests with his players, also an academic scandal in like the 2000s. But big Bobby Bowden, you know, I grown to really, really like Bobby Bowden just listening to him, and he was a big part of my childhood, and I just want to mention that. So thank you so much for watching this. I sorry I went on some of my things I didn't explain well. I'm very hot. I just gotta go, but thank you so much for watching. And I just want to remember Bobby Bowden. Thanks.